The Broken Crown. Love in the Ruins. The Empire Crumbles. 3 months after my collection's debut, the first cracks in the Blackwell Empire began to show. It started small, a few cancelled orders, some negative reviews comparing their legacy collection unfavorably to my Phoenix Rising line. Industry insiders began questioning the originality of Blackwell designs. But Demon and I weren't satisfied with small cracks. We wanted the whole foundation to collapse. "The manufacturing records you asked for," Chin said one morning, delivering a thick folder to Demon's office where we'd been working. Blackwell Luxury's complete production history for the past 2 years. Including some very interesting discrepancies. I opened the folder and felt my heart rate spike. Production dates for the Blackwell Legacy Collection showed work beginning 4 months before Marcus had even asked to see my final designs, but the materials lists matched my specifications exactly. They hadn't just stolen my finished work, they'd been copying my designs in real time as I developed them. "This is the proof we needed," I said, looking up at Demon. "This shows they were manufacturing my designs while I was still refining them. There's no way they could have developed identical pieces simultaneously unless they were stealing my work." "It gets better." Demon pointed to another section. "See these invoices? They show payment to a private investigator named Thomas Rivera." I had Chin dig into what Rivera was hired to do. He pulled up files on his computer, surveillance photos of me working in my studio, transcripts of hacked emails, even recordings of conversations I'd had with Jamie about my design process. "They were spying on me," I whispered, feeling sick. "Not just stealing designs I'd finished, but actively surveilling me to copy everything I created in real time. Which means their entire legacy collection is built on stolen intellectual property and illegal surveillance." Demon's smile was sharp as broken glass. "This doesn't just damage their reputation, it opens them up to massive legal liability. Every piece they sold could be subject to lawsuit. Every buyer could demand refunds. The company could face criminal charges. We need to be strategic about how we release this," I said, my mind racing. "If we just dump everything to the press, they might find a way to spin it or bury it with their lawyers. We need maximum impact." "Agreed." Demon stood and walked to his office window, hands in his pockets. "Which is why we're going to let them destroy themselves first. The beauty of Stolen Empire is that it's built on lies. And lies eventually consume everyone involved." "What do you mean?" He turned back to me, and there was something dark and satisfied in his expression. "Marcus and Vivian's relationship is already strained. I've had people watching them, they argue constantly, mostly about who deserves credit for the legacy collection's success. Vivian thinks Marcus is riding her coattails. Marcus resents that Vivian is the face of the collection when he did the actual theft. They're turning on each other," I said slowly. "They're going to turn on each other," Demon corrected. "We just need to give them the right push. And I know exactly how to do it." 2 weeks later, an anonymous tip reached the media. Vivian Thornwood had been telling friends that she was the sole designer of the Blackwell Legacy Collection, that Marcus had contributed nothing but his family name. The story spread through social media like wildfire. Marcus's response was immediate and vicious. He held a press conference claiming he'd been the lead designer, that Vivian had merely been his assistant, that she was trying to take credit for his work. "Just like her stepsister," he said, and I watched on Demon's office TV with grim satisfaction. The Thornwood women seemed to have a pattern of stealing other people's designs and claiming them as their own. The comparison to me was deliberate, meant to damage Vivian by association. But it backfired spectacularly. Vivian released her own statement that same day. "If Marcus Blackwell is accusing me of theft, perhaps he should explain how he obtained the original designs in the first place. Ask him about surveillance, about hacked emails, about the private investigator he hired to spy on his own fiancée." The media went into a frenzy. Within hours, journalists were digging into every aspect of the Blackwell Legacy Collection's development. Someone leaked photos of me in my old studio, the same photos from the surveillance files we'd obtained. Someone else found emails between Marcus and the private investigator discussing acquisition of intellectual property. The truth was coming out. And the Blackwells couldn't stop it. "It's working," I said, watching news coverage explode across multiple channels. "They're destroying each other." "Like scorpions in a jar," Demon agreed. He stood behind me, his hands resting on my shoulders. "When there's no enemy to fight, predators turn on their own kind. Marcus and Vivian were always going to betray each other, we just accelerated the timeline." His phone rang. He glanced at the screen and smiled. "It's my contact at the district attorney's office. They're opening a criminal investigation into corporate espionage and intellectual property theft." "Already?" "The evidence is overwhelming. And with Marcus and Vivian contradicting each other, with the surveillance photos now public, with manufacturing records that prove premeditation." He answered the phone. "Cross here." "Yes, I've been following the news. Of course I'd be happy to cooperate with the investigation." I watched him talk, marveling at how smoothly he operated. Every move planned, every contingency covered. He'd orchestrated this entire collapse like a conductor leading a symphony of destruction. When he hung up, his expression was triumphant. "They want to interview you next week. As a potential victim of corporate espionage and theft. This is it, Arya. This is where you get your official vindication." I should have felt victorious. Should have been celebrating. But all I felt was hollow. "What's wrong?" Demon asked, turning me to face him. "I don't know. I thought destroying them would feel better. Watching Marcus and Vivian turn on each other, seeing their empire crumble. I thought I'd feel satisfied. But I just feel empty." "That's normal," he said gently. "Revenge is rarely as satisfying as we imagine it will be. The anticipation is always better than the reality." "Then why do we do it?" "Because sometimes justice demands it. Because some wrongs can't be forgiven or forgotten." His dark eyes held mine. "Because people like the Blackwells need to face consequences for the lives they've destroyed. Your revenge isn't about making you feel better, Arya. It's about making sure they never do this to anyone else." He was right. This wasn't just about my pain, it was about Elena, about every other designer or creator the Blackwells had exploited over the years. It was about breaking their cycle of destruction. "Okay," I said. "Then let's finish this." Vivian's true colors. The betrayal between Marcus and Vivian reached its peak at the emergency board meeting called by William Blackwell to address the growing scandal. Demon had managed to get someone on the inside who sent us live updates. "William is demanding answers," Chin reported, reading from his phone. "He wants to know who's responsible for the surveillance operation, who authorized the theft of designs, who created this PR nightmare." "And?" I asked, leaning forward. "Marcus is blaming Vivian. Says she seduced him into the scheme, that she was the one obsessed with destroying you and stealing your work. He's claiming he was manipulated." I laughed bitterly. Of course he is. Taking responsibility has never been Marcus's strong suit. "But Vivian's not taking it lying down," Chin continued. "She just presented the board with evidence that Marcus initiated contact with the private investigator 6 months before he even introduced her to you. She has emails showing he planned the entire operation from the beginning. She kept insurance," Demon said with something like respect. "Smart woman. Terrible person, but smart. The board is demanding both their resignations," Chin read. "William is trying to save face by claiming he had no knowledge of any of this, but nobody's buying it. The DA's office has already requested his testimony under oath." The dominoes were falling exactly as we'd planned. But there was one more push needed, one final revelation that would ensure the Blackwells never recovered. "It's time," I said to Demon. "Time to release everything." He nodded and pulled up the comprehensive dossier we'd been building, every piece of evidence, every surveillance photo, every hacked email, every manufacturing record that proved the theft. But we'd added something else, financial records showing this wasn't the first time the Blackwells had stolen designs. Over the past decade, William Blackwell had targeted at least 7 different designers, using variations of the same scheme. Seduce them, gain their trust, steal their work, destroy their reputations. Elena had been one of many victims. Once this goes public, Demon said quietly, there's no coming back from it. The Blackwell empire will be finished. William could face prison time. Marcus and Vivian will be pariahs. Everyone associated with their company will be tainted. Good, I said firmly. They deserve it. All of them. Are you sure? Because once we do this, you can't take it back. You'll be known forever as the woman who brought down the Blackwell empire. Some people will see you as a hero. Others will see you as vindictive. I thought about that, about how my name would be linked to this scandal forever, how I'd never be able to escape the shadow of what happened. But then I thought about Elena, about the other designers whose names I'd found in William's files, about every young creator who might have been the Blackwell's next victim. I'm sure, I said. Release everything. Demon sent the files to 3 major news outlets simultaneously. Within an hour, the story was everywhere: Blackwell empire built on decade of theft and manipulation. Multiple designers come forward with stories of exploitation. DA announces criminal investigation into Blackwell luxury. My phone exploded with messages. Reporters requesting interviews. Other designers thanking me for exposing the truth. Even some of my old contacts apologizing for believing the lies about me. But the message I kept coming back to was from my father: I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I should have known better. Please call me. Too little, too late. You okay? Demon asked, watching my face as I read. I will be, I said. Eventually. He pulled me into his arms, and I let myself lean against him, drawing strength from his solid presence. Over the past months, he'd become more than just my partner in revenge. He'd become my anchor, my safe harbor in the storm we'd created. What happens now? I asked against his chest. Now? The legal process takes over. The DA builds their case. The Blackwells try to save themselves and fail. And you? He pulled back to look at me. You get to decide what kind of life you want to build in the aftermath. The final confrontation. 1 week before the criminal trial was set to begin, Marcus showed up at my apartment. Demon's security team tried to stop him, but I told them to let him through. Some conversations needed to happen face to face. He looked terrible: weight loss, dark circles under his eyes, his usual polish completely gone. This wasn't the confident heir to an empire I'd fallen in love with. This was a broken man watching his world collapse. Arya, he said when I opened the door. Thank you for seeing me. I'm not doing it for you, I said coldly. I'm doing it so I can look you in the eye and know that everything I've done was worth it. He flinched but didn't argue. Can I come in? I stepped aside, and he entered the penthouse that Demon had given me, so much larger and more luxurious than the apartment he'd helped me lease back when I was someone he could use. Nice place, he said, looking around. Cross is taking good care of you. Demon treats me like a partner. Like an equal. I crossed my arms. You treated me like a resource to be exploited. There's a difference. I know. He turned to face me, and I saw something like genuine remorse in his eyes. I know I destroyed you. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I'm not here to ask for it. Then why are you here? To tell you the truth. The whole truth, not the version I've been telling myself to sleep at night. He sank onto the couch like his legs couldn't hold him anymore. I did love you. At first. When we met in college, when you were just this brilliant, passionate woman who talked about design like it was poetry. I loved that version of you. But... I prompted, staying standing. But my father got in my head. He showed me Elena's designs, the ones he'd stolen from Demon's sister, and pointed out similarities to your work. He said you had the same gift she did, that same raw talent. And he convinced me that talent like that was too valuable to let slip away. So you decided to steal from me. I decided to secure our family's future, he corrected, then shook his head. That's what I told myself, anyway. The truth is I was weak. I wanted my father's approval more than I wanted to be a good man. And I was jealous. Jealous? Of your talent. Your passion. The way people responded to your work. His laugh was bitter. I'm a mediocre designer at best, Arya. I've always known it. But you're extraordinary. And I hated that. Hated that you had something I could never have no matter how much money or power my family had. The admission shocked me into silence. I'd expected denial, excuses, maybe even anger. Not this raw, self-aware honesty. Vivian felt the same way, he continued. That's why we bonded, really. We were both in your shadow, both resentful of your gift. When my father suggested we work together to acquire your designs, it felt like justice somehow. Like we were taking what we deserved. You deserved nothing from me, I said quietly. I know that now. He looked up at me, and his eyes were red-rimmed. Watching everything collapse, watching my father face criminal charges, losing everything we built on lies, it shone me what we really were. Parasites feeding on real talent because we had none of our own. If you're looking for absolution, you're not going to find it here. I'm not. I just wanted you to know that you won. Completely, utterly won. The empire is gone, my reputation is destroyed, I'll probably face prison time. And you rose from the ashes of what we did to you and became something even more extraordinary than before. He stood, moving toward the door. I hope that brings you peace, Arya. I hope destroying us was worth it. It wasn't about destroying you, I said to his back. It was about justice. For me, for Elena, for everyone your family has hurt over the years. You just happened to be in the way. He paused at the door, his hand on the handle. For what it's worth. I am sorry. I know it doesn't change anything. I know it doesn't undo the damage. But I am genuinely, truly sorry for what I did to you. Then he left, and I stood alone in my beautiful penthouse, feeling the strange emptiness that comes from finally getting something you thought you wanted. Demon found me there an hour later, still standing in the same spot, lost in thought. Marcus was here, he said. It wasn't a question, his security team would have informed him immediately. He apologized, I said. Admitted everything. Took responsibility. How do you feel about that? I don't know. Confused, maybe? I wanted him to grovel, to suffer. And he is suffering. But it doesn't feel the way I thought it would. Demon moved closer, his dark eyes searching my face. That's because revenge is a hollow victory, Arya. It doesn't actually heal anything. It just balances the scales. Then what does heal? I asked, hearing the desperation in my own voice. Because I've destroyed them, I've reclaimed my reputation, I've built a successful career. But I still feel broken inside. Time, he said simply. And letting yourself trust again. And maybe. He hesitated, a rare display of uncertainty. Maybe letting yourself be loved by someone who actually deserves you. My heart stuttered. Demon. I know the timing is terrible. I know you need space to process everything that's happened. But I can't keep pretending this is just business between us, Arya. I'm in love with you. Completely, desperately, probably unwisely in love with you. He took my hands in his touch warm and solid and real. You're brilliant and strong and so damn stubborn it drives me crazy sometimes. You've survived things that would have destroyed most people, and you came out the other side not just intact but magnificent. And every day I spend with you, I fall deeper. Tears were streaming down my face now, but I didn't try to stop them. I'm scared, I whispered. I'm scared of trusting someone again. Scared of being used again. Scared that this is just another form of manipulation I'm too broken to see. Then don't trust me, Demon said fiercely. Not yet. Not until I've proven myself. But give me the chance to prove it, Arya. Give me the chance to show you that not everyone who offers you love is trying to destroy you. Demon's secret. Before I could respond, his phone rang. He ignored it, but it rang again immediately, the emergency tone he'd programmed for critical calls. Take it, I said, wiping my eyes. He answered with visible frustration. This better be important. But his expression changed as he listened, shock, then something like fear crossing his face. He glanced at me, and I saw apology in his eyes. I understand, he said into the phone. Yes. I'll handle it. He hung up slowly, and the silence that followed was heavy with unspoken words. What is it? I asked, dread pooling in my stomach. That was my lawyer, Demon said carefully. William Blackwell's legal team has filed a motion to suppress evidence in the criminal trial. They're arguing that the surveillance records and manufacturing documents were obtained illegally. Were they? My voice came out flat. Some of them. Not all, but enough that it could compromise the case. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I'd learned meant he was deeply troubled. Arya, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you from the beginning. The dread intensified. What? The original theft of Elena's designs, my sister's work that William Blackwell stole, there was never enough evidence to prosecute him. He covered his tracks too well, destroyed too many records. That's why I've spent the last decade building my business, gathering resources, waiting for the right opportunity to take him down. I know this already, I said. You told me when we started this. But what I didn't tell you is that I knew about you long before the gala. I'd been tracking the Blackwell family's activities for years, looking for any sign they were repeating their pattern. When Marcus started dating you, when I saw your design work, I recognized the setup immediately. My blood ran cold. What are you saying? I'm saying I could have warned you. Could have exposed Marcus and Vivian's plan before they destroyed your reputation. But He looked away, unable to meet my eyes. I needed you destroyed. I needed you angry and desperate enough to partner with me. Because a designer with a grudge and insider knowledge was exactly what I needed to finally take down the Blackwells. The room tilted. I grabbed the back of the couch to steady myself. You let them destroy me, I whispered. You watched them steal my designs, ruin my reputation, humiliate me publicly, and you did nothing to stop it because you wanted to use me for your revenge. Yes. The word was barely audible. And I will regret it for the rest of my life. I told myself it was necessary, that the end justified the means, that you'd be grateful once I helped you rebuild. But the truth is I sacrificed you on the altar of my vengeance. Just like the Blackwells did. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Everything we'd built together, every moment of connection, every time he'd held me while I cried or celebrated my victories, all of it was contaminated by this revelation. Get out, I said. Arya, please. Get out. The scream tore from my throat. You're no different from Marcus. You used me, manipulated me, let me suffer because it served your purposes. You're just another man who saw my talent as something to exploit for your own gain. That's not, he reached for me, and I recoiled. Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again. Tears were streaming down my face, hot and bitter. I thought you were different. I thought you actually cared about me. But I was just a pawn in your game, wasn't I? A useful tool for destroying the Blackwells. At first, yes, Demon said, and his honesty was somehow worse than a lie would have been. But that changed, Arya. Somewhere along the way, you stopped being a tool and became the most important person in my world. Everything I said about loving you, that's real. That's true. How can I believe anything you say? I was shaking now, my whole body trembling with rage and betrayal and heartbreak. You've been lying to me from the moment we met. You built our entire relationship on deception. I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so goddamn sorry. He looked wrecked, destroyed, but I couldn't let myself care. If I could go back and change it, if I could have warned you before the Blackwell struck, I would. But I can't. All I can do is tell you the truth now and hope that somehow, someday, you might forgive me. Leave, I said, my voice hollow. Leave and don't come back. I'll finish this revenge myself. I don't need you. Arya. I said leave. He left. And I collapsed onto the couch, sobbing harder than I had even on the night Marcus betrayed me. Because this hurt worse. Marcus had been a mistake, a man I'd misjudged. But Demon I'd started to trust. Started to love. And he'd betrayed me too. Choosing love over vengeance. For 3 days, I didn't leave my apartment. I ignored calls, deleted messages, and let myself drown in the pain of Demon's revelation. The criminal trial was approaching, and my testimony was crucial, but I couldn't bring myself to care. What was the point? Even if the Blackwells were convicted, even if justice was served, I'd still be alone. Still be broken. Still be someone everyone saw as useful rather than valuable. On the 4th day, someone else knocked on my door. I almost didn't answer, but the knocking was persistent. Arya, it's Catherine Joe. Please, I need to talk to you. The jewelry critic. I opened the door, probably looking like death warmed over in my pajamas with unwashed hair and red-rimmed eyes. Catherine took one look at me and invited herself in. Rough week? You could say that. She settled onto my couch like she owned it, fixing me with her sharp, intelligent gaze. I've been hearing rumors about you and Demon Cross. About how he let the Blackwells destroy you because it served his revenge. The rumors are true, I said bitterly. Turns out everyone in my life just wants to use me. Catherine pulled out her tablet. Did you know that Demon Cross donated $5 million to a fund for emerging designers? It provides grants, mentorship, resources to young artists who might otherwise be exploited by larger companies. Good for him. Doesn't change what he did to me. The fund was created anonymously 3 years ago, Catherine continued as if I hadn't spoken. But I have sources who confirmed Cross Industries was behind it. And do you know what the fund is named? I shook my head, not trusting my voice. The Elena Cross Memorial Fund for Artistic Protection. Catherine showed me her tablet, a website for the fund, testimonials from dozens of designers it had helped. He's been working for years to prevent what happened to his sister from happening to other young artists. And from what I can tell, he's helped a lot of people. Why are you telling me this? Because I think you deserve the full picture, not just the parts that confirm your pain. She set down the tablet. Yes, Demon Cross used you. Yes, he let you suffer when he could have prevented it. Those things are true, and you have every right to be angry about them. But? I prompted, hearing it in her voice. But he's also been fighting this battle for a decade, trying to stop the Blackwells from destroying more lives. And sometimes, in war, good people make terrible choices. That doesn't excuse what he did, but it does provide context. She stood, preparing to leave. The trial starts in 3 days. Your testimony could be what finally brings William Blackwell to justice. And I think Elena, the woman Demon loved enough to dedicate his life to avenging, would want you to see this through. Not for him, but for all the other designers who might be the Blackwell's next victims. After she left, I sat with her words for a long time. Then I pulled out my laptop and started researching the Elena Cross Memorial Fund. The more I read, the more complex the picture became. Demon hadn't just been plotting revenge, he'd been actively working to prevent future tragedies. The fund had helped over 200 designers in the past 3 years, protecting them from exploitative contracts and predatory business practices. He'd turned his sister's death into something meaningful. Something that saved others. Was he still wrong for using me? Yes. Was I justified in my anger? Absolutely. But was he irredeemable? Was he just another Marcus Blackwell in a different package? I didn't think so. That night, I called him. He answered on the first ring, like he'd been waiting. Arya. My name was a prayer on his lips. I'm testifying at the trial, I said without preamble. Not for you. For Elena, and for everyone else the Blackwells have hurt. This isn't about us, it's about justice. I understand. But after the trial, we need to talk. Really talk. About what you did, about whether we can move past it, about what kind of relationship, if any, we can have going forward. I'll take whatever you're willing to give me, he said. Even if it's just closure. Demon? I took a deep breath. What you did was wrong. Letting me be destroyed, using my pain for your revenge, it was wrong, and I'm not sure I can fully forgive it. I know. But I also understand it. I understand grief and rage and the lengths we go to for justice. I understand making terrible choices in pursuit of something good. I paused. I'm not saying we're okay. But I'm saying I'm willing to try to get there. If you're willing to be honest with me going forward. Completely honest, no matter how ugly the truth is. Always, he promised. I'll never lie to you again, Arya. Not by omission, not by deception. You have my word. Then I'll see you at the trial. The new beginning. The trial was a media circus. Reporters camped outside the courthouse, cameras catching every moment of the Blackwell family's fall from grace. William arrived in handcuffs, Marcus and Vivian separately with their own legal teams, already turning on each other for reduced sentences. I testified for 6 hours, walking the jury through every detail of the theft, the surveillance, the systematic exploitation. I showed them my original sketches, matched them to the Blackwell legacy pieces, explained the technical impossibility of parallel creation. But I also told them about Elena. About how this wasn't an isolated incident but a pattern spanning a decade. About the Elena Cross Memorial Fund and the designers it had protected from suffering the same fate. By the time I stepped down from the stand, there wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. The verdict came 3 weeks later, guilty on all counts. William Blackwell was sentenced to 12 years for corporate espionage, theft, and fraud. Marcus received 8 years. Vivian, who'd cooperated with prosecutors, received 5. The Blackwell empire was liquidated to pay restitution to victims. The legacy collection was destroyed. Their name became synonymous with exploitation and theft. They'd lost everything, just like I had. But unlike me, they wouldn't rise from the ashes. After the verdict was read, I walked out of the courthouse to find Demon waiting on the steps. He looked uncertain, hopeful, terrified, all the emotions I felt reflected on his beautiful face. You were amazing in there, he said quietly. Elena would have been proud. I think she'd be proud of you too, I replied. For what you've built in her memory. For protecting other artists, even if your methods were flawed. Does that mean? He trailed off, not daring to hope. It means I'm willing to try, I said carefully. I'm not promising happily ever after or immediate trust. But I'm willing to see if we can build something real. Something not based on revenge or manipulation, but on honesty and choice. His smile was like sunrise after a long night. I'll take it. I'll spend every day earning your trust, Arya. I swear it. Good. I took his hand, feeling the warmth of his skin against mine. Because I'm terrified and damaged and probably going to be difficult to love. But I think I want to try loving you too. If you're patient enough to wait while I heal. I'll wait forever if that's what you need, he said, pulling me close. You're worth waiting for. We stood there on the courthouse steps, cameras flashing around us, and I realized something profound: revenge hadn't healed me. Justice hadn't fixed what was broken inside. But choosing to trust again, choosing to open my heart despite the risk of pain, that was where real healing began. The Blackwells were destroyed. My reputation was restored. My career was flourishing beyond my wildest dreams. But the real victory was standing in Demon's arms and believing that maybe, just maybe, I could be loved for who I was rather than what I could provide. 6 months later, I stood in a gallery showcasing my new collection, From Ashes, We Rise. Every piece told a story, not just of destruction, but of transformation. Of taking the broken parts of ourselves and forging them into something beautiful and new. Demon stood beside me, his hand warm in mine. We'd spent those 6 months rebuilding trust, learning each other, discovering what we could be when revenge wasn't driving us. It wasn't always easy. I still had moments of doubt, he still carried guilt, but we were trying. Together. Your father's here, Demon murmured, nodding toward the entrance. I saw him, my father, looking older and more tired than I remembered, standing uncertainly at the edge of the crowd. We'd spoken a few times since the trial, awkward conversations where he apologized and I tried to figure out if forgiveness was possible. I should talk to him, I said. Want me to come with you? No. This is something I need to do alone. I crossed the gallery to where my father waited. He looked at me with a mixture of pride and regret. The collection is beautiful, he said. You've always had such talent, Arya. I'm sorry I didn't see it clearly before. Thank you. The words came easier than I expected. I'm glad you came. I wanted to apologize again. For choosing them over you, for not believing you, for letting our family fall apart. His voice cracked. I was a terrible father. You were human, I said gently. People make mistakes. What matters is whether we learn from them. Have you learned to forgive me? He asked hopefully. I considered that. I'm learning. It's a process, not a switch I can flip. But I think. I took a breath. I think I want you in my life again. If you're willing to accept me as I am now, not who you wanted me to be. I am. God's, Arya, I am. He pulled me into a hug, and for the first time in years, I let myself lean into my father's embrace. When we separated, I saw tears on his cheeks. I'm so proud of you. Not just for your success, but for your strength. For surviving what they did to you and coming back even stronger. I had help, I admitted, glancing back at Demon. I couldn't have done it alone. He loves you, my father observed. I can see it in the way he looks at you. Like you're the sun and he's learning to see after a lifetime of darkness. The description was surprisingly poetic for my practical father. And I love him. It's complicated and messy and we're both still figuring it out. But yes. I love him. Then I'm happy for you, sweetheart. You deserve love. You deserve everything good in this world. We talked for a while longer, making plans for dinner, for slowly rebuilding our relationship. It wouldn't be easy, and there would be setbacks. But I was learning that healing rarely came all at once. It was a gradual process of choosing hope over bitterness, connection over isolation. As the evening wore on and the gallery began to empty, I found myself back in Demon's arms, swaying to music only we could hear. Happy? He asked, his lips against my temple.